All right. So on Monday, I talked about the win was just to have the awareness of what doesn't feel good, even if we don't know what exactly it is we want, or we don't know how we're going to get something, just to fully recognize that there is something missing, right? So we want to hold on to that feeling because we need to know before we ever set a goal, right, why we want something. Yesterday, I talked about this sort of continuum that we're all always on, every aspect of our lives, right? Every piece of that pie that we're bringing in that makes up our life. We lie somewhere between a sort of desperation, this longing for it, this wanting for it, feeling really disempowered around, right? The emotion, the thing that you really hold on to, is this feeling that I don't know how to give this to myself. And, hope kind of lies in the middle of it on the way up, right? It's a more positive feeling, but we're still not actively creating. And then at the far end is decision making. And that, my friend, that action that you are taking, right, combines both the choice, the emotion around it to create something new, and actually making progress. So, all of these pieces of the pie, right, really are inside this first seed that I teach in constructive living, clarity. Okay, always, always, always. We so often miss this sort of planning phase that lies within clarity, and we get super excited sometimes with hope, and we kind of just get going, and that it's great that you're taking action, but if we don't identify exactly where we are, right, that point A, and we're just kind of shooting in the dark, running towards where we think point B is, then we can have a tendency to hit a slump again, right? Where we forget, we either forget the why, right? That feeling, and it becomes overwhelming again and something heavy within us. Or we say we tried this thing and it didn't work, right? We need to know what's actually stopping us. Like, what are our personal blocks around this? And the first one really is always just being able to create this perspective shift for us. Not that long ago, raise your hands if you've ever felt like you were underneath your life, that your life was steamrolling you, that you were really being kind of beat down by things, right? Maybe this feels like again, really just saying, oh my gosh, I really need this thing to happen. Again, it's kind of like that desperation energy. And there's nothing wrong. I know the word desperation can kind of feel uncomfortable, but we need to feel uncomfortable to push us, to get us moving, to really connect us with this is what's going to keep happening if I don't take really thoughtful and consistent action. So clarity, right? So that feeling of being pummeled down, right? I had that feeling recently, and I immediately, because I have been practicing this, right? Because I live this thing that I'm teaching you guys, and constructive living in this hero method, right? I'm rescuing myself. And the first thought I had after, oh my gosh, I'm feeling really just, I could feel the overwhelm coming, and really just feeling like, oh, my to-do list was almost like these punches, or this weight, each one kind of adding to this feeling of heaviness. And I said, the immediate thought I had afterwards was, oh, what this is actually training me for, right? And you can fill in the blank, training me for something better, training me to create the life, right? I don't know how many of you out there have done sports or even academics, right? The studying, if you're an athlete, right? The training, the physical training, that exertion, that time that you invest in the process, right? Of learning. And here, when personal development, right? We're talking about, number one, learning about ourselves, because we don't know how to help ourselves if we don't know what the actual problem is. So investing in this stage, right? The challenges, right? If you were going, getting a degree or doing grad school, right? You didn't stop and say every time, you had to study or do something that felt challenging, like, okay, this isn't what I want. This isn't the way, right? You knew because you'd already committed. You knew plan A, you knew where you were, right? You were the student, you were in year one, wherever you were. And plan B was the diploma, the degree, whatever, right? Because that's going to open you up to the next step, the next level. And so you invest the time without thinking, without really, you feel the emotion, but then you have that practice in these scenarios, right, that we're more accustomed to letting things go and moving past them and saying, all right, well, I have to study. What do I do? Maybe you drink a cup of coffee to stay awake. Maybe you get up early. Maybe you decline, going out, because this this short-term sacrifice is there to, as part of your investment, right? Maybe you're a business owner, an entrepreneur like me, and you invest in coaching, in leadership, in a course, something, right? Some continuing education, or you're investing just the time, right, into strategy. Anyway, my point is really, right, this planning phase, when it comes to actually living our life, we don't often have the example around us of people doing this, living this way, right? We see it and we're okay with it and we get it when it comes to our business, our education, right? We hire consultants to come in and say, all right, what am I doing in my business, right? But when it comes to our life, right, if we're not doing this in our life, every other thing that we're pouring ourselves into, whether it's my marriage, my parenting skills, my relationships, with my friends or my family, my business even, right? Even if I'm getting coaching inside my business, around my business, if I don't know how I can show up as a stronger leader, as a stronger just human, as a person that I want to be, right? If I can't set my bar high and meet that, then I'm missing out. I'm missing out on this ability to create a greater future for myself, to create a greater anything, right? More time, time freedom, money freedom. All of these things are connected because we are the person in our lives that is going out to create this. So always, always, always start with clarity, right? You need, and part of that clarity, it is sort of boosted when you find a community. You don't even all have to be going for the same goal. You need the same type of thinking, right? People who are open, who are looking, who can help you look and ideate and eventually get to the execution stage, right? But to first really invest in this first stage of planning, right? Clarity. Can't say this enough. I'm sure you've heard it from many other people as well, right? So how do you get clear, right? It's what's creating our motivation, and it's going to create the drive, the energy level that we really need to ride through all of that execution, okay? And how we get that, right? When we connect to that why, both of what we don't want to feel anymore, what we don't want to have in our life anymore, right? That I'm done, it's the last straw, I'm moving the bar, really is what that's saying, right? I know why, right? I'm getting away from this feeling of heaviness, this feeling of downness. I want more energy, I want more fun, I want more money, I want more time, I want more peace. I don't care what you want, right? It's all gonna come in the same way. And that is through your clarity so that you can push through, and then you're gonna find out the how. First, you just need to know, why do I bother doing this? Why am I gonna get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, to train or to practice, to meditate, to do whatever it is? Again, we're gonna work backwards. Once we get the point A, we identify point B, we get to reverse engineer before we go into execution. So we know exactly what we need to do. We don't have to worry anymore about what we think. And managing those emotions, right? Like I was just telling you, right? Is being able to quickly shift from this phase of overwhelm. This feeling, overwhelm is a disempowering state because it's saying, I've got all this stuff happening and I don't know what to do, right? It's a place of total inaction, this inert space. And we don't do well, right? It's really hard to create energy from this place because when you are still and heavy, right, it takes more energy than it does to just maintain momentum. So what we want to do this time, in order to create sustainable energy levels for you, right? You want to keep being able to make change, keep being able to pivot, because as you raise the bar and you get there, you're going to be able to raise the bar again, right? Even if that means just, maintaining where you are, that generally means we get to open up space and we're going to find more. Because again, when you're not under your life, when you're not carrying it all on your shoulders, you have a very different perspective. And perspective only really comes, right, when we are looking for clarity and really learning even in the tail end, right? When we look to clarity, control, that's our action step. Confidence is what we're going to harvest. There's always something, right? It's win or learn. It's win or learn. We got to do that for ourselves. Gain confidence. And then we're going to reflect really objectively with curiosity and creativity. So if it didn't go right, if it didn't go right, how can I pivot, right? And this really loops us back into clarity. How do I pivot? I don't know. Well, what did I really want? How do I again bring these two things together to create this powerful forward momentum, upward trajectory, right? So clarity, guys, you got to invest in this planning phase. Sit with this and write it down. There's a lot of power in writing down where you feel. You don't even have to journal, but if journal is something that feels good, go for it. Journal, and at the very least, even just create 2 columns, right? This is where I am. This is how I'm feeling right now. And maybe this is what it means, right? What am I really looking for from this? Do I want the financial freedom? What does it offer me, right? Create both the inspiration on 2 ends, right? It's like this amplified inspiration when we know both what we don't want anymore in our lives, but we need that positive inspiration to say, well, this is why I want this thing, right? This future goal, here's why I want it. And it can't, because we always want to be able to focus on where we're going. It's important to reflect momentarily on what has happened. But if we sit too long with that, then we're looking backwards instead of forward, and it makes it hard. So give this a try. Recapping, right? Get clarity. And one of the easiest things to do to just quickly help you out of these states that can feel heavy and really prohibitive of forward momentum and progress in your day, your energy level, right? What stops you from having energy and what drains your energy, really, right, is perspective. It's how you're seeing things. So when you hear yourself say, when you feel yourself have this large feeling, this heaviness, right, of the overwhelm, you can just, as soon as you recognize it, right, this is such a practice. So, maybe it takes you a month, maybe it takes you a week, maybe it takes you a day, maybe it takes you a minute, right? That's the whole point. Not that we're never going to have these thoughts, but how fast do we get to come out of them? Okay, so when you have the thought, number 1, change your perspective. How can I do it? Instead of getting beat down, I'm training for something. All right, I get to do this thing, right? All of the chores, like this morning, I got my kids packed up, right? Lunches, and made sure everybody had their books in their bag and doing everything that they needed to do. And all of this can feel a little bit like it's not my work that I want to do, but I love having kids, right? They're a gift in my life. And so I get to do these things. And I also get to figure out a way, if there's things that I can offload, that I don't need to do all of the things unless I want to, right? That is my choice. Everything in life is really a choice for us. And the higher we set the bar, the more we open ourselves up, what we're really offering ourselves in the end is more choices, okay? So I get that there are constraints in life, financial, time, depending on each of your situations. But what I want to offer you is that when you set the bar high and you start being able to raise your own standard of how you show up, you get to have more options. So number 1, clarity. Start with this first C. Write it down. Where are you now? What are you feeling? Really sit with it, because you're going to let it. You need to feel enough of that pain to push you forward, to say, all right, here's what I want and here's why. This is why I want this, right? I want time freedom because I want to homeschool my kids. I want time freedom and financial freedom because I want to travel with my family. I want, the freedom to love on the people the way that I love, the way I want to. I want to gift them things. I want to spend time with them. And all of these things that I'm building up to, I'm working towards, I'm training for, right, are allowing me to be able to live this life that I envision. So give it a try. There's a free download also, 3 ways to kind of overcome overwhelm. It's a free download. Hop on my site, nithyakarya.com, and pick it up. It can be a first step for you of really creating some good foundational pieces in your life to increase your energy so that you can invest in investing in yourself.